Yeah. So your name is coming as external, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, friends, let us start the last session of the day, and the speaker is Dr. A.L. Sharma, Akshilal Sharma. Dr. Sharma is assistant professor in Department of Physics, Central University of Punjab, Batinda. Yeah, there was some connection problem from my side. Now it is over now. So he is assistant professor in Department of Physics, Central University of Punjab, Batinda, and he has completed his PhD in condensed matter physics, experimental side, in 2011 from IIT Kharagpur. And the year 2016 is very much special for him as he has cleared the CSIR JRF exam, then GATE Physics. IIT and All India rank that was 48. Just physics that is All India ranking is 166. So all things that he had cleared in 2006. Percentile that was 19.02. That's very high one. And many of his papers that are having the top India top cited paper award 2020, and he got the research award 2020 from Central University of Punjab, Batinda, and he is recipient of the Best Paper Award 2015 in the third National Conference on Photonics and Material Science, Senior Research Fellowship in 2009, Junior Fellowship in 2007, and so on. And he has published 74 research papers in reputed journals, and completed one PhD, and four PhD students are going on. Further, he has completed the guided the 7 MPhil and 25 MSc students. So, with this brief introduction, I request Professor A.L. Sharma to continue his lecture today. His topic of his lecture is functional materials for renewable energy storage devices. So over to Professor Sharma.
So thank you very much, sir, for such a nice introduction. Actually, I am very much thankful to you also that you have given me this opportunity that I could share some of my idea, actually what I learned in front of all. So without making any delay, I'll try to just, I'm going to start share my presentation by which I could discuss much more things, actually what actually we are doing here. So let me share the screen. Are my screen is visible to you all? Please respond.
Yeah, that is okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Take this slide to full screen.
Yeah, sure, sir. Actually, I think it's coming full screen. I think it's not coming. It's coming.
Oh yeah, now it is coming. You can continue.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity that I could say something. So today's my presentation topic will be the functional materials for renewable energy storage devices. Certainly, if you see nowadays, a huge debate is going on across the world regarding the energy crisis. You know, actually, energy crisis is the major issues nowadays. What globally people are facing. So if you see now currently, if you see across the world, then you can understand around 70% of our needs, 70% of our need till date is going to fulfill by the non-renewable energy resources. If I said non-renewable energy resources, you can understand that we are talking about the conventional energy resources. Conventional means you can say our 70% requirements is our fulfilling by the oils, means fossil fuels, coals, natural gases and nuclear sources. So why we are actually, if something is coming from these conventional energy resources, why we are talking about these renewable sources? Since you see my presentation talk is on the basis of renewable energy storage devices. So why we are talking about these renewable energy resources? So renewable energy resources, what is the questions? Actually questions, there are two questions basically what people are facing. If I say first questions, it is related to environment pollution. You see, environment pollution is there, and in environment pollution, if I say, then you see always for the next generation, if suppose next generation is coming and we are putting so much pollution to the environment that they cannot even survive. So for that reason, they are not going to actually appreciate us. Rather, they are going to say what actually we did. So for our benefits, we cannot compromise that we are going to make a huge pollution to the environment by which living species cannot survive. So for this reason, actually we have to look for the renewable energy sources. And second reason is just you see, either you see the oil, you see fossil fuels, which is to producing the different variety of oils. Coals, what you are looking for, thermal power plant, basically they are using for extracting the harvesting the electrical energy. Natural gases, what you are looking for, the mostly in the electric vehicles people are using CNG. You're looking the nuclear energy. These resources are actually having in the limited amounts. So you can say their life span. So life span, if I'm talking so far, then you think that they are going to end in a day. Means I think from now onwards, after some years, you are not going to get them, since they are having a limited resources in our earth. So before they come to end, again we are supposed to be ready for the harvesting of this energy. So for these two reasons, actually we are shifting, or we are looking for the renewable energy resources. I think my voice is okay, or we are supposed to enhance
that is okay. Voice? That is okay.
Okay. Please continue. So for this reason, if I just make you an overview about this conventional energy resources, that what actually we talked so far, you see a projection is given here. If in a same manner we used to utilize this conventional energy resources, then from now to in 2051, means from now to 20 to 30 years after, you are not going to get neither this color is showing to the about the coal. This is related to the coal, and this is about the CNG or natural gases, and this color is showing about the oil. So you see, after 20 to 30 years, from now to 20 to 30 years, you are not going to even get this coal, oil and gases from earth even for our survival. So for this reason, before we are reaching this 20 to 30 years, we are in a position, we are thinking that we must be in a position that we don't require this oils and CNG. This is the one reason related to their lifespan. At the same time, this coal is also after 20 years, you are not going to have this coal in even earth. So for this reason, you just think the reason of shifting off from this non-renewable to renewable one. Along this, if I said the second reason why what I discussed, that regarding the environment pollution, so you can understand that this is the whatever towers you are looking. This is a tower for thermal power plants. Just you see how they are just emitting the greenhouse gases. Actually, greenhouse gases, if they are emitting, they are actually improving the global warming. Just you see global warming. If global warming is going to increase in this fashion, then after 20 years, you even not going to survive this generation. Even you don't think for the next generation. So just you think this is the very big question mark. Means we have to think about this pollution related thing. And the same time, fossil fuels which it should be using are CNG gases. Whatever electric vehicles are running over the roads, just you see they are also emitting the CNG gases. Sorry, greenhouse gases. So these greenhouse gases, just you think, they are also contributing in the global warming. So you see, we are polluting the environment so rapidly and so badly that even these our coming generation, we are doing a very you can think curse for them, that they are going to say that what actually they did for us. So we have to think for this renewable energy resources. So just thereafter, if you see here for renewable energy resources, then we must know that what are the different renewable energy resources. As the last two talk, as I observed in from the brochure point, that last two talk was related to the solar cell, and some extent it is to be covered the supercapacitor in the solar cell. The last class last lecture is just touch some surface of this supercapacitor. So today's I am just, since I'm the third person who is just representing about energy storage conversion devices. So since you all are from different, I think I must be aware that you all are not from the energy storage conversion devices background. So I'll not make our discussion to be very core research, but somewhere superficial as well as somewhere little bit core research. So don't worry for that. So I'll discuss that. If you see the renewable energy sources, there solar cell is there. You say windmill energy is there. Hydropower energy is there. Tidal energy is there. Geothermal energy is there. Biomass energy is there. You see all energy. If you see both the problems, what questions were arised for the conventional energy resources, both questions were resolved. First questions were related to environment pollution. Environmental pollution, if you see, for environmental pollution, the questions were there that they are emitting the greenhouse gases. But here, if you see, whatever the light they are getting, actually this sunlight is coming over the end region of this solar cell, they are actually just sorry?
Yeah.
Hello, some disturbance? Is it okay?
No, please continue. Please continue.
So here you see whatever the light is coming, they are actually just falling over this depletion region, p-n junction depletion region, and electrons are rushing from the external line, and they are just through their load, they are just producing the electrical energy. So just you can think over here that no emission of any type of gases. So we are actually ratherly we are producing the electric field, at the same time we are saving our environment. So it is a very good option, you can think. And even nowadays, even it has not been built up till date, it has not been built up in its actual form, means around 10 to 12% globally it is going to be utilized. But at that time, people are looking its prices, overall price is going to be lower than the thermal power plants generation of electricity. So just you can think over, without any pollution polluting the environments, it is very much useful, and it is going to give us the electricity. So energy crisis is going to resolve here using the solar cell. At the same time, if you see the lifespan, as we know, if sun is not there, liveness is not there. So you can think, till we are here, our human being or any living creatures are here, sun is there. If sun is not, livingness is not there. So for that reason, you can think its lifespan is not problem. Similarly, you can think over any of either the hydropower, either the windmill energy, either the tidal energy, but you think all things are not can be installed at every places. This windmill energy is going to be installed across the seashore. It is going to be installed across the mid-zone region, across the world, where sunlight is falling perpendicular wise at least 12 hours in a day. So in that way, they are actually not going to, they are going to solve both the problems of environmental pollution as well as the lifespan. Both the problems have been solved. But you know, if one problem is going to be solved, next problem is going to be appear. What is the next problem? Next problem is going to happen with renewable energy resources. First problem is that they are weather controlled. They are weather controlled. Similarly, they are the you can say they are the time control. Both the things are there, which is in not our hand. So for this reason, if you see, if I'm saying weather control, means if you take the example of the solar cell, if there is cloudy weather, then you are not going to get the electricity. from this solar cell. At the same time, if time control I said, then you can say in night time you are not going to get this electricity from this solar cell. So to make this consistency, since this is inconsistent, reason why if we are supposed to depend on the solar cell only, then we are going to be not get energy during this weather, during the cloudy weather and or in the night time. So for this reason, to fill the gap, actually energy storage devices are going to play the role. Energy storage devices are going to play the role. So which is going to store the renewable energy. So renewable energy, those storage devices are going to say the renewable energy storage devices. Renewable energy storage devices. So renewable energy storage or renewable is a clean and green energy. So renewable energy storage devices is going to play the role in order to fill the gap when solar light or renewable energy sources directly not going to provide us. At that time, they are going to provide us the energy. For this, see how you are going to store the energy. There are actually four way out. Either you are going to store the mechanically, or you are going to store the chemically, or you are going to make storage of electrical energy electrically, or you go for the electrochemical. For mechanical way, you can say this is underwater compressed air phenomenon is there. For that way, you are going to store the electrical energy. For chemical way, you are going to produce the hydrogen. At that way, you are going to store the electrical energy. But you see this this one and mechanical and chemical one is not that much viable. Actually, if you see for viable and very easy to go, the energy storage phenomenon is electrochemical and the electrical one. If I say electrochemical and electrical one, on that basis you can understand. They are having the device of lithium-ion batteries, the latest actual development in the batteries. In the battery sector, the latest development is lithium-ion battery, which is obviously appreciating by the world scientists whosoever is working over. They are actually saying that lithium-ion batteries are very good and they are going to resolve the problems of this whatever inconsistency is going to happen with this renewable energy resources, and there are fuel cell. So these both are based on the electrochemical energy storage phenomena. Whereas electrical based, it is to be supercapacitor. That is the advanced version of the capacitors. Actually, capacitors were there, what we know already in our basic science notions. Here the supercapacitors are their advanced version. They are storing the energy in the form of electrical energy. So you can understand here we have both the systems on the basis of electrochemical and on the basis of the electrical. Electrochemical and on the basis of electrical. If you see the fuel cell, this is not only the energy storage devices, rather this is energy conversion devices also. Reason why, since here you are giving the hydrogen from outside, you are giving oxygen from outside, and it is just after combustion they are going to produce the electron here, and they are actually converting this energy from those what it is taken from outside. So we are not going to consider them as a storage device. Rather, if we say the storage device, electrochemically it is lithium-ion battery, and electrically this is supercapacitor. What actually people are doing over here, if you see the a comparison, actually, if I make a comparison between lithium-ion battery and supercapacitor, then just you think, if you are looking the lithium-ion battery, then certainly you can understand that lithium-ion batteries are having a high energy density. If high energy density I am saying, it means I am talking that they are having the energy for long to go. Long to go means if you are supposed to be having a you have the high energy density and you are just that battery has been installed in your car, then your car is going for a long distance. Their mileage is going to be very good. If you are looking the power density, it means you are improving the current value. you are improving the current value, means if you are talking the capacity, means capacitance is going to be increased, and capacitance, you know, ampere hour is its unit. So it means it is improving the current value. If current is improving, means power is improving, means if we are supposed to be drive our car faster, for that time this power density requires. So you can, and its analogy actually, sometimes people are giving the analogy in a way that if you are supposed to, any athlete is there and that athlete having 100-meter race, suppose 100-meter race is there, then this supercapacitor is useful. Whereas suppose they are having the marathon, so for marathon certainly they have to go for the batteries. So that analogy, actually that analogy is there, which is going to be just given here. So just actually in order to actually complete this our talk, actually what actually we prepared here, that talk, since this is a 2 hours talk, so I thought that I am going to make our presentations in a 2 part. The 2 part is one part actually related to this functional materials in context to lithium-ion battery, and second I'll discuss the functional materials related to supercapacitors. So it's not, I'm not sure that after 2 hours or 1.5 hours where we are going to reach. At that point we are going to left the things. Otherwise, if I'll get time, then certainly I'm going to finish the whole parts. So before actually starting this thing, now this is the very brief or superficial introduction about this lithium-ion battery and the supercapacitors, how they actually, what they are. Now I'm talking specifically about this lithium-ion battery. So just you see the lithium-ion battery here. This is a cathode. Actually, this is the cathode, and this is the anode. This is the anode. So what's actually happening here, if you see, always maybe these notions you may not digest it, since in your basic science you may be aware that the negative terminal is of anode, cathode, but this is negative terminal, negative electrode is used to set to be the cathode, and this positive one is set to be the negative one is anode, and positive one is set to be the cathode. So just make this actually nomenclature that this is used to say in the lithium-ion battery. So what's actually happening here, if you see in the lithium-ion battery, during the charging, all the ions, whatever ions are here at the cathode side, they are coming to anode and they are just here making the intercalation. Whereas during the discharging, those ions are just diffusing from here, means if they are going to give the energy to the load, at that time they are diffusing from here to there at the cathode side. So this phenomenon actually happening in any battery systems, but I am talking here specifically the lithium-ion battery. In this lithium-ion battery, if you see one thing also, that you can say here, whatever the ions migrations you are looking so far here to there and back also, in this you are actually talking, or you are looking about the lithium ions. So that's the details we'll discuss just very soon. So just to be aware here, this lithium-ion battery consists of 4 components. One is cathode, second is one is anode, second is cathode. Here third is this system, whatever you are looking here, this is said to be the electrolyte, and this is said to be the separator. So what's actually job of its separator job is to just avoid the contact of these 2 electrodes, and this electrolyte job is to make the ion conduction from one electrode to other electrode to first one. So they are basically consist of 4 components: one electrode, second electrode, electrolyte, and the separators. So if we see their applications, if you see the applications of lithium-ion battery, then you can understand there are none of the sectors where actually they are not going to be used. It is used in each and every sectors. They are using, actually lithium-ion battery is going to be used in railways. They are going to be used in the electric vehicles, you know, it's in the defense applications, in the communications also. It is going to be used in the space applications, in a energy storage system. If I say energy storage systems, what people are doing, they are making the grid. Actually, they are making the energy grid using the lithium-ion battery, by which they are going to fulfill the inconsistency what's actually happening due to the weather or time control. So, and they are using the telecom towers. They are going to be used wherever your this renewable energy resources have been installed. Where actually at each and every places where renewable energy storage are installed, at that place actually these lithium-ion batteries are going to be set up in order to store the electricity, and they are going to deliver it when they are not available. They are going to use consumer electronics. If I'm talking the consumer electronics, I'm talking about the portable appliances. Portable appliances, where portable appliances, you can say each and everything are coming, like either the phone or the palm top, laptop, whatever you are looking. So it is having a huge applications. If you see the major player actually whosoever is working in India even, so you can understand in India at least whatever the batteries, actually batteries utilization is there, around 40%, 37% to 40% is going to be utilized by lithium-ion battery only in all the applications whatever in India we are looking so far. Whereas if you see whosoever is the major player actually who is actually fabricating this lithium-ion battery in India. So I must give you an idea that this is the Future Hi-Tech batteries. This is situated in the Mohali. Actually, they are producing the lithium-ion batteries. They are actually doing this job. Reliance Industries Limited in Mumbai, they are also producing working over this lithium-ion battery. JSW corporations, you can say they also working. They are from Mumbai. Adani Enterprises Limited from Barodara, they are working. Mahindra and Mahindra Limited from Mumbai. Suzuki Motor Corporations from Gujarat. Toshiba Corporations from Haryana. Deso Corporations from Haryana. Bharat Heavy Electric Limited from New Delhi. And this Central Electrochemical Research Institute, this is CSIR laboratory especially dedicated for this is said to be the SICRI. SICRI is especially dedicated for the electrochemical devices productions. For that, actually, they are working too much, and they have already transferred so much patent to the commercial peoples, means industrial peoples. So this is said to be the Madras unit even for the electrochemical society. Along with in all the IITs, almost you see are the IITs, NITs, central universities, in state universities, people are working in a very you can say in a very huge fashions, that in a coming coming years you are going to get that a huge work has been happened, or people are going to be work for lithium-ion battery in a huge manner. It's the problem that it is started so late when other countries is already being achieved in lithium-ion battery too much. If you say, but reason is one, I should not discuss here, but I must tell you here that this lithium-ion battery having only drawbacks, that India peoples are not interested in order to doing this lithium-ion battery research in India. Reason why this lithium is not available in a number of countries. Rather, I should say there are 3 countries. Actually, there are 3 countries only where lithium is going to be available in their earth crust. That countries are, if you see, A, B, C. A for if I say Argentina, B for if I say Bolivia, C for if I say Chile. These 3 countries are there where they are having the mine of lithium. Other countries have no lithiums in their earth crust. So for these regions, at least India is not thinking about that lithium-ion battery development. Rather, they are thinking for lithium sulfur or lithium air batteries. At the same time, if you say for China, they have already owned these mines from this country already, so they are working too much over this lithium-ion battery. Although these are the players who is already working in lithium-ion battery in order to after facing all these problems. So major breakthrough, I discussed with you, then its major breakthrough started from 1970 when people are actually realized that there could be done using the lithium-ion batteries, and it's started mostly get the powers when this LiCO2 cathode materials has been immersed with the good effort of our Nobel laureate, this John B. Goodenough. When they have just suggested these, at the same time they have suggested for the superanic conducting materials. Superanic conducting materials, either they are sodium based or they are lithium based. This superanic super ionic conductor materials. So for that reasons, it has been come into the in a real pictures. And after 1980s development in 1991, that actually since this LiCO2 patent has been purchased by this Sony manufacturers, and they started working on it. And 1991 they have come out with a complete setup of a lithium-ion battery with a cathode of LiCO2 and anode of graphite. At the same time, this filling up in a polymeric membrane as a separator, and they have poured with a jelly flammable liquids. So on that basis, this lithium-ion battery comes into the pictures, and people are started working over that. This is again a very good plot. Actually, I should say that when how this development have occurred. If I say here, I just explain you here. This is said to be the graph that has been drawn between the. This is the volumetric energy density. That is said to be the volumetric energy density. And this is said to be the gravimetric energy density. So if you see this two graph, gravimetric energy density and volumetric energy density, then you can realize where we are nowadays. If lead acid battery were prepared for this energy storage, at that time in 1 kilogram, this is per kilogram. So in 1 kilogram of lead acid battery, we were able to store 25 watt-hour in 1 kilogram of lead acid. But if you see here in a volume wise, around 75, you can say 70 watt-hour have been stored in a 1 liter of lead acid battery. So 1 kilo or 1 liter lead acid requires in order to store this much energy. But if you see our development till now, either we talk about the plastic lithium-ion battery, or we talk the lithium-ion battery. Plastic lithium-ion battery sometimes said to be the lithium polymer battery. This is said to be the lithium polymer battery. In both the cases, if you see, we are in a position that we are going to store more than 400 watt-hour in 1 liter of this lithium-ion materials. At the same way, if you talk in this side, you are around 200 watt-hour energy you are going to store using this polymer lithium-ion battery using in a 1 kilogram of polylithium-ion materials. So you can understand how this progressing. Well, lithium metal I'm not talking about. When lithium metal is going to be used as an anode, at that time its good efficiency is very good. But because of lithium metal is not that much safe, so we are actually avoiding this one. But you can consider these achievements. How this battery is going to be prepared, that's also you can have a little bit just idea that I could just make aware you that this is said to be the cylindrical battery. People are preparing the cylindrical battery. People are preparing the prismatic battery. This is said to be the coin cell battery, and this is said to be the lithium polymer battery or plastic lithium-ion battery, whatever you say. So these 4 variety of batteries are going to be fabricated, and there you can understand a separator is to be in between, and thereafter there are the coating current collectors are there. Over the carbon is going to be coated as a graphite is going to be coated as a anode, and here you see the lithium alloy is going to be coated as a cathode materials, and thereafter they are going to be wrapped. One copper strip is going to be coming out and one aluminum is coming out. They are going to be used as a positive and negative electrodes after complete wrapping. So just you see, after making a complete wrapping and cylindrical cell, you are going to get out 3.8 volt and 1.5 ampere hour. But if I used to say you that what much energy you requires for electric vehicles, if I talk means what energy and power requires for your car driving, if you want to drive your car. So I used to say, if you are supposed to be electric vehicles, there is a energy density. If I talk, then energy is going to be around 80 watt-hour. We requires actually 80 volt. Actually, we requires the voltage and we require the current is of the order of you can consider it somewhere 100 amperes. We require this much for the moving our car, means driving our car. So you, for this reason, if you think over here, then you can understand this 3.8 volt and 1.5 ampere hour is very, very small. Recently, if you have the news, then you may be in a awareness that Tesla company is there, who have already prepared the electric vehicles cars and based on the lithium-ion battery. I don't know you are knowing or not, but this is, there are the 7,000 of batteries are going to be packed in a series as well as the parallel manner in order to drive the car. So you can consider 7,000 is how much. It's a very, very huge amount of batteries going to be sandwiched for the moving of these electric vehicles. But you understand, in out of 7,000, if one battery is damaged, if one battery is not good, they are going to spoil all 7,000 batteries in a fraction of seconds. So they are going to be not going to be useful. So, but although people are working, since you see, people are enjoying if they are going to get the hurdle if doing something. So there are 7,000. So what's actually happening here? If you are going to add this battery in a series fashion, suppose if in a series fashion you are going to add these batteries, then what actually you are doing, you are improving their voltage value. Actually, voltage is going to be sum up if they are going to be add up in the series. Whereas if they are going to add up in a parallel manner, at that times you are improving the capacity. Capacity is going to be added, C is equal to C1 plus C2 and C3 if they are arranged in the parallel manner. If they are to be in the parallel manner. So just you see, battery is going to be arranged in parallel fashions, they are improving the current. If they are adding in the series fashions, they are improving the voltage. So in this way, after adding this cell in the series and parallel fashions, you are going to achieve the requirements, what is to be electric vehicles, what is for the railways, what is for the satellites, what is for the spacecraft, what is for the each and everywhere you are going to be exercising. But it's your requirements, you are going to make it cylindrical, you are going to make it prismatic, you are going to make it plastic, you are going to make it coin cell. It depends your requirements where actually how much energy you require. If you are talking about your normal phone, you don't require to make a combinations of so much. You just go for a prismatic cells and you are going to put it in your mobile cell. It is going to be used. Since you have the capacity, you can charge it after a day. So you don't require for it to go for a miles. So for these regions, there are different sectors, and based on the requirement, different types of device is going to be prepared. Certainly, this plastic lithium-ion battery is going to be designed for our flexibility point of view. Means whatever design we require, that design is going to fulfill. For that reason, this flexibility, this plastic lithium-ion battery is useful. If I talk next, that there are the three types of electrode materials actually being presented here. If I say the first is lithium cobalt oxide, second is lithium manganese oxide, third is lithium iron phosphate. If you say why I am representing these three, since you saw storage phenomenon, whatever storage, energy storage phenomenon we are talking, they are basically depends on the morphology. What morphology actually we are having, what your materials you are having, they are actually what morphology they are carrying. At the same time, what their crystal structures, what their structures actually. So that two things are very, very important. That two things are going to change the game. Actually, whatever you are thinking, it may going to be changed drastically if you are going to change the morphology or you are going to change the structures. Here, just you can see morphology, you may not be visible here, but if you see here, the structure is going to be changed. This is the layered structures, this is spinal structures, this is all-in structures. Why I am talking these different structures, since you see battery having a different means complexity is a huge number of complexity. They have the complexity of structural stability. They have problem of thermal stability. They are having if I say this, and they are having the volume expansion problem. So three things are there. So if you see this lithium cobalt oxide, this is good, but they are not good for structural and thermally unstable. So people are not avoiding for use of this, but they are going to be used. Actually, their utilization is not of that way. LiMn2O4, if I talk about, then Li2MnO4 is not in that way that it is to be thermally it is stable, but structurally it has problem. It is structurally stable, thermally it has problem. So we are just looking over that, making a combinations of these two by which it is going to, we are going to get the best properties of both, and it could succeed for the next generation. Similarly, if for someone is going to start their problem for the lithium-ion battery, then I would suggest them they may go for with this figure. Actually, this figure is telling too much. If you say here the lithium, different variety of lithium you are talking, then you can understand here the cathode material is MnO2, it should be taken. Here the cathode material is V2O5 is to be taken. In both the cases, if you see, one thing you are going to find very clearly that Mn2 and V2O5 both are said to be the non-lithiated cathode. Non-lithiated cathode. What does it mean? It both are not having any lithium content here. If lithium contents are not available here, then how these lithium are going to be make transfer from one electrode to other electrode? For these electrodes, actually we are supposed to use lithium metal as an anode. Whereas these materials just you think just after doping of different types of metals into one metals, their improvement is going to be happen a lot. So for this way, the development is going on, and obviously cobalt is going to be reduced because of the toxicity, at the same time because of their higher price and their of least abundance. So these three reasons are there by which people are avoiding to use of cobalt, and they are just playing other transition metals. So just you think what's actually showing this graph also, in this figure also, if you see this lithium manganese oxide materials, you see its potential value is somewhere more than the 4 volt. It is around 4.2 volt. And graphite, if I say, then it's almost versus lithium ion. If I say lithium ion versus this graphite, it is almost 0 volt. So you can consider if you are going to prepare this cathode, this material as a cathode and this material as a anode, straightforward you are going to get around 4.2 volt potential window. This 4.2 volt potential window is so good. You can make utilize it. If you are requires 80 watt, if you are requires 80 watt, you just see roughly 20 watt, 20 cell. If 20 cell you are going to put in a series, you are going to achieve huge in this electric vehicles. But reason is that we don't require only the energy, we require the power also. And for power, if you see, this graphite is having around 300 ampere hour in a 1 kilogram of graphite. What people are thinking, if they are going to be shift from this graphite to tin, you see the tin is here. If tin materials they are going to be take, just you see around 700 to 800 ampere hour in a 1 kilogram of tin, they are going to get the capacitance. So this capacity is going to improve the current value twice what is to be obtaining in the graphite. At the same time, if nitride materials you are taking it as a anode, although you are going to compromise with this much, how I think this is around 0.2 to 0.3 volt potentials, you are compromising it, but you are getting too much that you are getting around 1000 of ampere hour in a 1 kilogram of this nitride materials for boosting the power. So power boosting, these materials are to be very, very good. At the same time, if you see for lithium metal is going to be used, it is a very good, but obviously it is unsafe since it is a very, very reactive. But one material is a very magical materials comes into the trend. It is not mentioned here, but you can understand it here that this material here somewhere the silicon comes. That silicon is, if silicon anode you are going to prepare, at that times you are going to get the capacitance is of around 4900 in a 1 kilogram of silica. So you can understand this is a too much, and if you are going to use the silicon quantum dot or silicon nanowire as a anode materials, at that time technology is going to be pushed up. But you don't think scientists have not tried it. Scientists have already tried the silicon materials, but what problems they are facing, that is volume expansion. And that volume expansion is not that much ordinary. You can understand if there is a LiCO2 materials, if there are LiCO2 materials, when they are going to be discharging, at that time LiCO2 is going to be converted into CO2, and lithium is going to be transferred into the graphite, and it is going to become LiC6. So what actually you are getting here, you see, it need to be stable. After when lithium is going to be detached from here, cobalt oxide need to be structurally stable. What is structure here? The same structure need to be stable here. Lithium positions need to be vacant. Whenever they are diffused again back to their cathode materials, they need to sit on those vacant side. So that's phenomenon. If it is going to work with the silicon, what's actually happening, their size is going to be expand 2 to 3 times, and that is going to become very dangerous to any device. So for this reason, actually silicon is not going to be exercised practically, but there are thermal, there are the engineering peoples are there, whosoever is working there here, they are going to be electrical engineer, mechanical engineers, there is electronics engineer, all are working over this lithium-ion battery, and they are going to shoot out this problem of expansion. And when this is going to be, then power density is going to be also pushed up. In the lithium-ion battery, we don't require the supercapacitor also. Means they can beat the supercapacitor also. But you know, we are here, the device are not going to be framed for competing to some other device, rather by they are going their own, by which they are going to fulfill most of the people's or most of the, you can say, requirements which is to be required by the society. So here, if you see the cathode materials, actually just I am giving a little bit glimpse here. If you want to improve the capacity here, then what are the factors actually? Since you see, if in the transition metals we see, then there are 3 to 4 transition metals which are people are exercised very rapidly because of the region of this formula. Just you see here in this formula, if you see, capacity is going to be calculated by NF over M. This N is going to be denoted as, or you can consider this N is number of lithium ions used during the intercalations or deintercalations. And this F is the Faraday constant, M is the molecular mass. If I say here, this Faraday constant is universal constant, it is not going to be changed. So we cannot think over it. But you say here number of lithium ions used during the intercalation or deintercalations. As we talk about the cathode material, this is LiFePO4. Say for I am taking one example. In LiFePO4, how many lithiums are going to be in per molecules? How many lithiums are there? 1 lithiums are there. So if you are going to, instead of LiFePO4, if you are going to design the cathode materials Li2FeVO4, say for, if you are going to design these materials, very easily you can understand that you are, instead of 1 lithium, you are participating 2. So directly you are going to increase capacity 2 times whatever you are getting in lithium iron phosphate. So on that basis, in increasing this per molecular lithium ions value, if you can increase, and you can go for the higher efficiency or higher capacity value. At the same time, if I say you, this is said to be the molecular mass, means molecular weight. If you see molecular weight, then certainly in the transition metals, iron, cobalt, nickel, manganese, these are the lower molecular weight metals. So people are trying these materials to play with. If they are going for the larger atomic weight mass, molecular weight metals, certainly they are going to reduce. If its value is going to be large, capacity is going to be down. For this reason, people are not going to work for the larger molecular weight materials. As we discussed about in the last slide, if you have volumetric energy and volumetric gravimetric energy density slide, then you have seen that around 400 and we are talking about in the per kilogram. But recent study, if you see in 2020, what people are with the optimized lithium ion cells, what they are getting in 1 kilogram of lithium ion, they are getting around 1000 watt hour. 1000 watt hour actually they are getting the energy value in using the lithium ion battery. If I used to say how much using the thermal power plant, if in the coal points, if we are talking, then 1 kilogram of coal, 1 kilogram of coal, or you say, I say gasoline, better way I say gasoline, they are going to produce you around 2300 watt hour energy. So just you make a comparison. Here in 1 kilogram you are getting 1000 watt hour. Here 1 kilogram they are getting 2300 watt hour. So you are here again half of their efficiency. If you compare here its efficiency, you have to go for 2300. But it's not so long distance. If I say what you are suggested here about the lithium sulfur battery or lithium air battery or silicon as a anode materials, if these are going to be work fully, certainly we can overcome this value and we can reach beyond this 2300, maybe 3000 to 4000 watt hour in a 1 kilogram of lithium materials. Similarly, if you see what's actually, but here, if applications of lithium ion battery, if I used to just share with you, then this color is related to the portable appliances. This color is related to the automobiles. This color is related to the others. So you see the utilizations in the portable appliances is increasing exponentially. At the same time, these utilizations also up in automobiles also going exponentially. So you can think, and these other sectors also is going to be rapidly increased using the lithium ion battery. So you can think the capacity of the lithium ion battery, how much it is to be important and how much people are utilizing it. But this lithium ion battery having the merits and demerits, if I used to talk you merits, then it's having a very high energy density. It is a very small self discharge value. It is a variety types available, as we say, prismatic, coin cell, it is cylindrical, it is having the pouch cell. So different variety it is available, and it requires a low maintenance. What is the demerits? Demerits you can consider here. It's long protection requires. It's having the aging effects. It is the transportation problem. It is the cost problem and immature technology. At the same time, if you are after disposal, if you are supposed to lithium ion, you have utilized perfectly, and you have just disposed it in the land. At that time, they are also going to be affect the lands also. So they are going to pollute there also. So for this reason, these are the demerits, how they are going to be disposed of. These things actually need to be taken care. If I compare these, whatever the batteries actually, whatever the batteries we talking about lithium ion battery, they are of having different variety. Actually, if I say here, this is said to be the lithium cobalt oxide battery. This is said to be the lithium manganese oxide battery. This is said to be the lithium iron phosphate battery. This is said to be the lithium nickel manganese cobalt battery oxide battery. This is said to be the lithium nickel cobalt aluminum oxide battery. This is said to be this is actually anode material. So we are not supposed to talk here. This is the anode materials. So we are talking here this battery. What is actually which one is actually we requires, actually which one is good and which one is bad. So actually lithium ion battery performance is going to be based gauged on the 6 factors. If you see the parameters, one parameter is said to be the specific energy, second parameter is said to be the specific power, third parameter is said to be the safety, fourth one is performance, sixth one is lifespan, seventh one is cost. You see, there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have given wrong. 5 and this is 6. There are 6 parameters. So which one is having the feeling of color, more color filled, they are more desirable. Which one is least color filled, they are less desirable. But if you see lithium cobalt oxide in terms of the specific energy, it is a very good. But apart from along with the power, specific power, it's not good. For safety point of view, since it's structurally and thermally unstable, so it's not good. For performance wise, performance actually energy, specific energy, if I say it is said to be the amount of energy which is to be used for a longer run. For specific power already being discussed to give the acceleration to a electric vehicles. Means acceleration, if I think, I said means is speed, how we can speed up the electric car, that in that way it is not good. For safety point of view, obviously not good. Performance at extreme temperature conditions, it is not good, but it's okay. We cannot say not good, it's okay. This is one column is to be filled. Lifespan, for lifespan, if I'm talking for a longer cycle stability. So longer cycle stability is not with this lithium cobalt oxide. Cost wise, also it's not good. So it's a so cost wise. Similarly, if you talk about the lithium manganese oxide, you can compare here that none of the factors is, we can say, excellent, but it's okay. It is going to be utilized somewhere, but it's none of the factors is to be excellent one. But if you talk about LFP battery is good in terms of the specific power, very good in terms of the safety, very good in other durability. But cost wise so, and if you see here, their performance wise so. But specific energy for a longer run, this battery of LFP is not preferred. But most of the electric car, either Mahindra or anywhere, if car you will see and you will find what battery, lithium-ion battery they have used, you will find people, you will say that they are using the NMC battery. NMC battery is in the ratio of nickel, manganese and cobalt ratio. They are varying. Different industry peoples are varying this lithium, manganese and cobalt differently. So you can understand this lithium, manganese, cobalt, these are what ratio they have taken for which their battery performance is going to be good. So here you can say energy wise it's good, but all the parameters is almost okay. So for this reason it has most color filled lithium-ion battery. Similarly, this is nickel cobalt aluminum battery. If you see oxide battery, you see at that time they are very good for the energy wise, but they are so in the specific power and performance and lifespan wise, but they are not good for cost and safety. So based on, actually you can consider there are in society, there are in global society, there are different variety of peoples they are using they have different requirements. For this purpose, it is going to be utilized where they require. Apart from, as I mentioned, lithium-ion battery, that lithium-ion battery is going to be lithium metal is least abundance. I say it is least abundance material. So for this reason, actually people are trying to different set of batteries. So you can consider it that apart from lithium-ion batteries, and there are the magnesium-ion battery, there are sodium-ion, potassium-ion battery, there are lithium-sulfur battery, there are lithium-air batteries, but they are having their own importance. If safety you are looking, then lithium-ion being different variety, and some variety of like NMC, or you can say this manganese-based battery, they are safety-wise, they are good. If you are looking the high specific energy is going to be very high if you are going to use the magnesium-ion battery. If you are looking for the lower cost, since you see sodium is the sixth abundance material. It means even in India you can say in sea a huge number of sodium is available. If someone is working, sodium is going to be extracted from there. So sodium is not going to be a problem. So for cost wise, sodium is preferable. High specific power, if you are looking, then lithium sulfur and lithium air is battery is only the option. If top of this, whatever we discuss here about the battery, in all top up of all this, you can consider that all solid state lithium-ion battery, that is the major task what actually people are facing nowadays. If someone of you may think and may ask that what do you mean by all solid state lithium battery? I mean to say here that whatever accident you are looking here, whatever accident has been occurred in the recent past, its reason is only because of all solid, not of all solid state lithium battery. Reason is anode whatever you are using, it is solid. Cathode whatever you are using, it is solid. Separator whatever you have used, this separator is obviously film and it is also solid. But what electrolyte you are pouring here, that is either gel or the liquid over this separator, that is not solid, that is liquid or gel, liquid or gel. And this liquid or gel are having very low boiling points, very low boiling points. Because of the low boiling points, what's actually happening? First it happens, if temperature is going to be changed, those liquids or gel are going to be leak out or spill it out. And if it is going to be leak out, then what's actually happening? Because of the low boiling points, it catch the fire, and accident is going to occur. So in order to avoid this, that it is not going to go with the thermal runaway, we must have to put this also as solid one. So that research is started since 1973. 1973, when P.V. Wright, as I showed in one slide, what we said that major discovery. In that way, P.V. Wright, they have suggested with PEO and sodium iodide battery electrolyte system, PEO sodium iodide system, where they have suggested that if you go for this one, instead of this pouring of liquid or gel in a separator, it will be better option. But obviously you can see if it is to be solid, it looks like in this way, but there are going to be different questions are going to arise, and that questions are going to be seen very soon. Before questions we take up, we are just look if we are developing those types of polymer electrolyte, where they are going to be useful. Even they are lithium-ion battery, they are going to serve the purpose in lithium-ion battery, but at the same times they are going to serve the purpose in the supercapacitor also. They are going to serve the purpose in the sensor also. They are going to serve the purpose in fuel cell also, like proton exchange membrane fuel cell. They are serve the purpose in the solar cell also. They are going to serve the purpose in electrochromic potential window, where actually smart glasses are going to be prepared using this type of polymer electrolytes. And at the same time, they are going to use for different types of sensor also. So you can understand actually here why, if it is so important, why we are not talking this solid polymer, this solid polymer electrolyte. Reason is this low value of conductivity. Electrical conductivity is very poor if you are going to put the liquid or gel by a solid one. If we are going to transfer electrolyte from liquid or gel to solid, if you are going to transfer, then their electrical conductivity is going to become very, very poor. At least it requires 10 millisiemens per centimeter. Electrical ionic conductivity, rather I said ionic conductivity, it requires 10 millisiemens per centimeter. It means 10 power minus 2 Siemens per centimeter ionic conductivity requires. But in the solid systems, we are somewhere able to reach till date, we are able to reach 10 power minus 3 to 10 power minus 4 Siemens per centimeter. Reason, what are the regions that I'll discuss very soon. So this is the one reason that electrical conductivity is not in such a way that we could utilize solid polymer electrolyte instead of this liquid or gel. There is a stability problem. Actually, stability problem, if I could say, then certainly if solid is there, then how long time, for what time it is going to be stable. That is stable in terms of the thermal, in terms of the mechanical, in terms of the chemical. So this stability is very, very important. At the same time, potential stability also. At the same time, battery architectures is going to be, this is good thing. Actually, this is battery architecture is going to be changed, and cost and weight in the cost wise it is going to be up. So cost is going to be increased and weight is going to be, obviously weight is going to be decreased. So these are the things, actually major things that one stability point of view, conductivity point of view, and their that battery structures and the cost. But at the same time, people are saying that if this is going to be improved, then actually this is going to change the game. Actually, game is going to be changed. So if in the electrolyte, if I could say their variety, then huge varieties are there, liquid electrolyte or the polymer electrolyte. In polymer electrolyte, if you say their polymer salt complex, ionic liquid based polymer electrolyte, gel polymer electrolyte, solid polymer electrolyte. If I talk the solid one, then what way it is to be gone through the nanofiller, it is gone through the nano clay, it is gone through the nano rod or nano wire or the nano ribbon. So these are the materials actually whose nano wires or nano ribbons are going to be prepared. These are the materials which is to be frequently used for the nano clay. These are the materials used as a nano filler. Actually, this what I am mentioning here, that actually we did in our laboratory. The rest of the people are working too much. Instead of this montmolonite, they are working over the zeolite also. They are working on the different pouring systems. So whatever I am mentioning here, these what actually we are doing in our laboratory even, and what we have actually just did since last few years. So if problems, actually drawbacks related to ionic and gel, if I could discuss with you, then you can understand in liquid polymer electrolyte, basically it is having the limited temperature range. It is having the corrosion of electrodes. It is having the growth of dendrite growth formation at anode and cathode both sides. It's having the bulky size. It's having the flammability issue. It having the poor mechanical strength. So you can understand here, there are a lot of issues related to the liquid polymer electrolyte, and due to these issues, actually these liquids are spill out, or they are going to come out, leakage is going to happen, and they are going to be make a accident in the device. Similarly, the gel one, also the same types of phenomena are there, and they are not going to be helpful for the major devices. And for these reasons, actually these types of incidents is going to either this type or expansion of this pouch cell, this is going to happen and device is going to be ruptured. So what's actually happening here, if I just cope up with you in a very little bit core research way, then what's actually happening here, just I want to just mention here, just you see actually in a whole process, if I could explain you, then if I say here this is the cathode, this is cathode, and this is say for anode. In a whole process, if I consider this is a LiCO2, and this is somewhere the liquid which is to be poured over this plastic separator. This is a plastic separator. So in plastic separator, if I could say, this is not that much distance. They are close. Actually, just I mentioned here, but they are very close. So what's actually happening? Once if closeness I put, I just this is a node here. What when it is CO2, suppose it is having the 100 of lithium, 100 of lithium is going to be transferred to this anode. So out of 100, if 100 of lithium is coming back, then it's good. If suppose out of 199 lithium ions are coming to the cathode and one lithium is going to be left at anode because of the fast charging and discharging. Such types of incidents are occurring. Just make sure if you are putting the charger of very high, suppose instead of normally it is recommended 1 ampere current or maximum 1.5 or 2 ampere current is going to be taken during the charging. But most of the people, because of the fast charging, they are taking 4 ampere, 5 ampere current, they are taking out. At that time, this type of incidences are going to occur. Otherwise, if you are going to utilize it for multifunctional, say for it is having the capacity to deliver the energy of only one maximum of, you can say 100 100 milliampere, say for 100 milliampere capacity it is having, and you are using a multifunctional task you have put here, and you are extracting energy in ampere, 1 ampere, 2 ampere energy you are extracting from here. At that times, what actually happening, out of 100 lithium, maybe 99, 98 lithiums are coming back, 2 lithiums in a first discharging, it is going to be left here. In next times, 2 is going to become 4. Next time this 4 is going to become 8 here, and these 8 lithiums are going to make a heap here, and that heap starts penetrating this plastic separator. Once this plastic separator is going to be penetrated due to this heap of this lithium ions, then what is going to happen? Whatever liquid has been filled in this plastic separator, they are going to leak out. And once it is to be leak out, because of the low boiling points, it is going to capture the fire. Its boiling point is around 60 to 80 degrees centigrade is boiling point. So you can consider how fast it is going to be boiled and how it is going to catch the fire. So this is the reason you see here, these are the lithium ions depositions, and lithium ion deposition, just you see, they are the dendrite. Actually, this is the shape. It is to be said to be the dendrite growth, and they are so sharp, they are able to penetrate these separators. If it is to be able to penetrate these separators, liquid is going to be cathode or anode side, and cathode anode is get shorted, and because of liquid is coming out, and due to the other aggressive materials exist here, like lithium, other lithium, or the whatever the materials are there, whatever casing you did here, it is going to catch the fires, and your devices come in an accident. So you can consider these incidences actually happens because of these regions. So if you are using instead of liquid or gel, you are using the solid polymer electrolyte, what things actually, what are the benefits you are going to get? Your benefit is going to be no possibility of leakage. It suppresses dendrite growth. It's actually able to lower the cell price. It will improve the mechanical stability. It will improve the shape flexibility. A polymer you are going to use, polymers are so flexible, they are going to be utilized off in any shape. So it is going to be helpful in that way. No memory effect, or it prevents thermal runaway. So in that way, it is going to be utilized. So you can consider, if you are going to use the solid polymer electrolyte, it is to be safe and secure storage. At the same time, it's untraditional and it's surprising. You can consider it. If I consider this liquid, gel, and solid in terms of 1 to 4 points, 1 to 3 points. So out of 1 to 3 points, I am going to give 3 for the worst and 1 for the best. So you can consider in mechanical strength wise, solid polymer electrolyte is going to be best. In terms of the price, it is to be competing best. In terms of the safety, it is the best. But you see, it is going to be lower down in terms of because of the solid nature, interfacial compatibility is not that much good. At the same way, its ionic conductivity is not that much good as it in ionic liquids. Ionic liquids are in gel. So these two things need to be improved, and that just I am going to just make you aware, or just I am going to little bit explain you how we are trying to improve these two properties, either the interfacial or the ionic conductivity. So let us look the next slide. So this slide, if you see what's actually we are taking here, if you consider here, so in this slide actually we are just shown here that we are taking the polymer. Actually here the polymer we are taking not single polymer, instead of we are taking the 2 polymer. So why we are taking 2 polymers and what actually importance of polymer here? So just I want to explain you here that rather slide will come, then I will explain you. They are having the 2 polymer, and polymers having the glass transition temperature. So glass transition temperature is to be Tg. So we are taking, since polymer is to be flexible when they are to be at their above to glass transition temperature. and they are rigid if they are below to the class transition temperature. So if materials are below to Tg, they are in a glassy phase. It is said to be the glassy phase. And when they are above to Tg, they are said to be the rubbery phase. They are said to be the rubbery phase. So we are actually looking the polymer which is to be in the rubbery phase. So if we are taking one polymer, suppose PO we are taking, its Tg value is around minus 68 degrees centigrade. So if minus 68 degrees centigrade we see, then at room temperature it may not be that much viable, and they are very much hygroscopic, or you can consider they are not going to behave good way. So for that reasons, polyvinyl here you can say PVC or PVP is going to be used, whose Tg is little bit higher in comparison to this PO. So for this reason, if we are going to use this, then it is going to somewhere make Tg around room temperature. So at that time, at room temperatures, they are going to give the performance. For that reasons, these two types of polymer, their blend is going to be prepared. And this technique is said to be the solution cast techniques. This NaPF6, it is a salt. Actually, I have just showing here the sodium one, but here you can consider instead of NaPF6, LiPF6 you can take it. Similarly, here the steering is going on, and thereafter it is going to be poured over somewhere over the petri dish, and then thereafter it is going to be taken out, lift up, and polymer thin films are going to be lifted up. So as we discussed here, if you are going to prepare, then this is a major challenge actually to reach it at the industry scale. But now patenting is to be done, and there will be the patenting, and patent there wise it is going to be transferred to the this system is industrial scale. So what blending actually I was talking in that slide, you can consider that a composite is a combination of two or more different materials that are mixed in an effort to blend the best properties of both. Means if two polymers you are taking, then the best properties of both the polymers are going to be taken up. For that reason, this composite is going to be prepared. Nanocomposites, actually you see nanocomposites is to be when one of the components of nanometer order 1 to 100 nanometer, then they are going to be said to be the nanocomposite. So here whatever we are considering, we are taking the polymer matrix, and salt 2 matrix we are taking here, and third one we are taking, these are the microscopic, but this is at a nano scale. These are the nanoscale. If out of 3, one of constituent is going to be of nanoscale, those materials are going to be said to be the nanocomposite. And polymer nanocomposite, since you are using the polymer here. So ultimately, his job is using the solid polymer electrolyte to enhance this geometric energy density and volumetric power density. So you can understand here what polymer blending actually I was talking so far there. If you consider here, then we are talking there PVP was there, here it is a PVC. So you see here PVC is having a chlorine group. Chlorine group is associated here, whereas in PO you can see here the oxygen group is here. In oxygen they are having the lone pair. So what's actually happening if you are going to make a blending of these two polymer, then what is going to happen? Just you see this chlorine, because of their electronegative nature, and this hydrogen having the electropositive, they are going to make a bonding. So this bonding is said to be the blending, And why we are doing it? We are blending it in order to make Tg comfortable Tg value, what actually we requires. Thereafter, what we are doing, if once blending is going to happen, then we are dissociating this salt. Say for where we are saying the sodium, here this lithium hexafluorophosphate. So lithium hexafluorophosphate, when it is going to dissociate, it is going to be dissociate in lithium ions and this hexafluorophosphate ions. Then what will happen when it is going to be dissociate? It is having the electron lone pair. So what will happen? Because of their opposite nature, it is going to attract towards this oxygen lone pair. So what will happen when it is going to structure here oxygen lone pair? It is going to make a cation coordinated polymer. cation coordinated polymer. Whereas this PF6 minus, because of their electronegative natures and its electropositive natures, it is going to be joined somewhere in the matrix. So what we did here actually, we have just dissociated this LiPF6 in Li cation and anions. But what's next actually problem is going to happen once we are providing any potentials here to this system, then this lithium starts moving opposite to this. This is going to give you the force and it starts moving. And since in the next monomer, this PF6 minus is going to be available, so again it is going to make ion pair formations and it is going to become LiPF6. So this ion pair formations actually major reason to not provide the good ionic conductivity. So this ion pair formation in a solid state ionic language, it is used to say concentration polarization. So in concentration polarization, you see this ion pair formation is going to happen. We have to minimize this ion pair formations. In order to minimize this ion pair formations, what actually we are doing, we are adding either we are using either nanofiller we are adding there, or we are putting the clay materials in order to intercalate the polymer matrix. So these two things actually is going to be done, but here I am going to talk the clay materials which is useful in order to minimize the ion pair formations. But for your knowledge wise, I have just shown here one thing, that what actually are the techniques by which we are preparing the solid polymer electrolytes. So these are the techniques, either the hard press techniques, solution cast techniques, spin coating techniques, melt intercalation techniques, in situ, ex situ techniques, deep coating. These are the major techniques which is used for the preparation of solid polymer electrolyte, whereas these are the characterizations which is to be performed when they are prepared. So we will discuss actually some of the characterization techniques, but whatever materials we have prepared, that is using the solution cast techniques only, what we just discussed in the earlier slides. So in dispersed type, actually what's happening, if you are adding the nanofiller here, then what actually we are doing here, and in adding the nanofiller, if suppose this is the polymer salt, this is the salt, and they are making the polymer salt complex, so you can say these are the lithium ions. Lithium ions are get coordinated with these oxygen lone pairs. But PF6 minus anions are hanged here in the matrix. They are going to be obstacles when lithiums are going to be moved from one place to others. So in order to minimize these interactions between lithium and anions and lithium cations and these anions, we are introducing this nanofiller here. This nanofiller is doing two jobs. One job it is doing to just enrich the mechanical stability. This enriching the mechanical stability. At the same time, it is able to, since it is going to react with the anions, it is making make an interaction between these anions. So lithium ions is going to be moved freely, since anions are going to be interacted with this TiO2 because of their organophilic nature, because of the organo. In the energy storage devices, just for all actually this participant, I must aware you that you are going to look this 2, 3, 4 word very common. One is hydrophobic, hydrophilic, organophobic, organophilic. It's nothing. If it is to be hydrogen loving candidates, then hydrophilic. If hating candidate, water hating candidate, then hydrophobic. If organic interacting candidate, then it is organophilic. If organically hating candidates, then it is to be organophobic. So this needs to be organophilic, by which it is going to interact with these anions, and they are not going to make any ion pair formation. But it is not going to eliminate completely, rather it is going to minimize it. Similarly, we are actually optimizing its concentration. We are optimizing the O by Li concentration. These things are actually core research. I am not going to discuss those things. If someone is interested, certainly I will be able to. I'll answer them to here or somewhere in the next by mail or by phone as UP. So if you are increasing the value at that time also, they are not good. They may be not good in order to make them isolate. They are again going to make the ion pair formation. And if the intercalation type I talk, then in intercalations, just you see, we are having the polymer chain, and in polymer chain, if salt is going to be interacted, then cation is going to be just added here, as we discussed here. With both sides, it is going to be make coordination, and just after coordination, these anions are going to be remains hanged in the matrix. This is to be shape of a polymer. Actually, this is symmetric. This is symmetric only. A polymer symmetric is there. So here in O, this lithium is going to be coordinated, and these anions are hanged with the small bonding with the hydrogen. So once you are having the clay, then in clay is actually, again, clay is organophilic. Organophilic. So if clay is organophilic and they are having the, it's actually in nature, naturally they are organophobic. We are first making it organophilic, and then we are just going to further this polymer nanocomposition, solid polymer nanocomposition. So I'm not going to discuss that how organophilic. Again, you can discuss it separately. If you require more about it, then I'll be able to answer you separately. So after making it organophilic, certainly their surface is going to acquire the negative charges. It's a very good thing actually in clay, especially montmorillonite clay. Their shape is in the such way that two tetrahedral shape is two octahedral is sandwiched by a tetrahedral layers. So here what's actually happening in the two clay units, actually I say this is the one unit cell, this is other unit cell. In two unit cells, they are going to make a layer, and this layer actually after organophilic formations, it is going to be offer negative charges. So these negative charges, since cations are having the positive charge, so they are going to attract with these channels. If they are going to get attracted in these channels, then what's happening? Anions are going to be get hated, since they are having the negative charge and this surface having the negative charge. So only these cations are going to enter in this clay channels, and they are going to be free from this ion pair formation. So in this way, you can understand its channel is going to be increased when they are going to enter, and none of the anions are going to enter here, and ion pair formation is going to be minimized. So if you are going to say in this way, in the rough way, that it is going to happen, this is channel is going to be increased. No, in the scientific community, no one is going to consider your work, and no one is going to consider your research that you did actually, until and unless you are not going to give them a proof of good characterization techniques. So for that reasons, I'm just moving little bit in my core research, what your students have already done here. Small research means small core this analysis I'm just moving, but that's not deep. I will not go, but certainly I'll just make you understand that what are the different characterizations need to be done in order to prove that intercalation is to be happen or not. So for this reason, if you see, first, when you are going to prepare the sample, either the solid polymer electrolytes or the electrode or whatever, people are going to look the XRD that it is structurally stable or not. So for that reasons, if you go for the XRD, then actually I am showing here only 2 to 10 degree XRD pattern, 2 to 10 degree of XRD pattern, which is to be performed by copper K alpha X-ray source. So here in the montmorillonite clay, actually 3 planes are very important planes: 001, 002, and 004. Just you see, if I say this is pure clay, this is pure modified clay, But when this pure modified clay of their 5 weight%, I am considering here, just you see 2 weight%, 5 weight% of modified clay is being added in the polymer nanocomposite, 7.5 weight%, 10 weight%, 15 and 20 have been just put. So just you see, actually what you are going to realize here you are getting a peak, but this is to be lost due to this noise. But if you have 5% just you see, you are going to get the peak. Similarly, 7.5% you are getting the peak. If I'll say you that this is the peak shifted to this side, you may not believe it. But what happens when you are going to get here that this is 004 peak, this is 003 peak, this is 002 peak, 001 peak, then you are going to make believe then yeah, all the 4 peaks are available. Otherwise, you are going to say this is not, this is 002 peak. But you see 002 peak is already coming from higher angle side. So here this is coming here, and as you know 2d sine theta is equal to lambda. So here if you see sine theta is equal to lambda upon 2d. D and theta having the opposite relationship. If theta is going to be decreased, it means your d spacing is going to be increased. So here d spacing is going to be increased. It is giving the clear indication that whatever the clay channels you are looking so far, after inserting, after just this entering of this cation coordinated polymer in this clay channel, it is going to be, its channel is going to be broadened and its size is going to be increased. It is to be just shown by this X-ray diffraction analysis. But you see, scientific community are so clever and they are not going to believe on one characterization techniques. Even they need to be they need that you are supposed to endorse your characterization results by number of techniques. So endorsement is to be done by the transmission electron microscopy. So if you see the forward concentration, actually you are looking that this is coming. Actually forward concentration you are getting that this peak is coming. For that concentration, transmission electron microscopy giving these signature. These signature you see, these are the channels which is to be seen, and this is around 1.92 nanometer. So these types of channels are going to appear, and this is said to be the intercalation. And same times, if more and more polymers, cation coordinated polymers are going to enter into it, then those channels are going to get ruptured and it is going to be shown in this way, and it is said to be the exfoliation. Other techniques actually, not only this transmission electron microscopy and X-ray diffractions, this Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy is also going to be done in order to just judge that intercalation is going to happen or not. So for that reasons, actually this peak is going to be analyzed in order to get the intercalation pattern, it happened or not. So for this region, as you all know, Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy is inactive for the lithium. Lithium is not going to reflect in the FTIR spectrum. So for that reason, we are going to analyze PF6. PF6 is going to appear because of their size, bigger size. It is going to reflect in the FTIR, and their range is somewhere 820 to 870 centimeter inverse. So what we found here, we can see here, if we are going to find the PF6 minus, if PF6 minus, how many PF6 minus we are getting in any of this types of composite, the same number you can make an analogy of the lithium is there. So on that basis, it is to be characterized here PF6 band, and it is seen when it is to be polymer salt complex, then contribution of ion pair and free ion, whatever the higher wave number, it is associated with this ion pair formation, and which one is lower, since you see nu is equal to 1.2 pi under root k upon mu. So this k is force constant is large in ion pair formation, so its wave number is going to be large. Whereas in this one, this is to be lower value. So if you see, if you are adding the clay into it, then this free ion is going to be start improving. So this improvement is going to be judged by the formula. You can consider that fraction of free ion anion is going to be calculated using the formula area of free ion peak upon total peak area, and ion pair is going to be calculated area of ion pair peak over the total peak area. So you can consider from here that this concentration is going to give you the best results. This is going to give you the best results where ion pair for free ion concentration is good. At the same time, if you can understand the silicon SiO2, what SiO2 filler is going to be used here. In this case, if you consider, it is to be having the 4 band. Actually, it's giving only one peak because of their asymmetry nature. We have deconvoluted it, and after deconvolution, there are 4 peaks are going to appear. In 4 peaks, 1, 2, and 3 solid line peaks. What you are looking so far, those solid line is related to in plane peak, in plane peak of SiO, all 3 one. Whereas this one, dotted line one, is related to the out of the plane SiO band is there. So out of plane is going to give you about the intercalations. When polymer, cation coordinate polymer is get inserted into this clay channel fully, at that time its intensity is going to be down. So in this way, it is again corroborating this FTIR analysis that intercalation is going to be happen. That intercalation is going to be confirmed via FTIR Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy results also. Very important techniques actually, impedance spectroscopy is there that it need to be done in the solid polymer electrolyte system in order to calculate their resistance, actually bulk resistance. If you see here the bulk resistance, then bulk resistance is minimum where maximum conductivity, where maximum intercalation is occurred. So here, if you see maximum intercalation point of view, the same concentration of 5-8% what we prepared, that 5-8% is giving the minimum resistance value, and that is of the order of that you can consider here in the 10 below 100. And with temperature also it has been done in order to find it out its activation energy. Actually, activation energy is the energy by which you can estimate how easily lithium ions are going to be moved from one side to another side. So for that reason, this activation energy is to be calculated. Ionic and ionic conductivity is also calculated on the basis of transport number analysis that we'll see in the next graph. But activation energy, just you see, it's also calculated using this Arrhenius equation fitting in this graph. So transport number is here. Actually, it is a very important in order to make the that materials is ionic conducting or not. For that reason, this transport measurement is going to be done. Current versus time, and potential stability is a very good. Since you have seen in the almost whatever lithium-ion battery you have seen that maximum potential window you have found around 4.2 volt. 4.2 volt. So if your solid polymer electrolyte is not going to be sustained for 4.2 volt, it is not going to be useful for such systems. For that reason, if you see here, whatever the maximum good, actually whatever the 5-8%, if I show you 5-8%, we have reached the potential window up to 4.01 volts. So it is very much near to what actually we require. But some of the battery which requires less than 4 volt, for that this solid polymer electrolyte is going to be useful. This is actually dielectric response of the same solid polymer electrolyte in order to find out the relaxation time. Actually, this epsilon prime versus frequency and epsilon double prime versus frequency graph is going to be fitted, going to be drawn, and epsilon prime is going to be calculated using this formula minus z double dash over omega c that z prime square plus z double prime square, where this z prime and z double prime, you all know that impedance in real and imaginary axis. Omega is the angular frequency, C naught is the capacitance in the free space. So in this formula, epsilon prime and epsilon double prime has been calculated, and it has been fitted using the theoretically derived relations. These two equations have been fitted in here, and thereafter relaxation time has been calculated, and you see the same where intercalations have been done. For that concentrations, you see least relaxation times has come. Least relaxation time means it is the faster ion dynamics. It is providing the faster ion dynamics. So in that way, sigma representation is to be done. If you see here, from there, the same epsilon prime and epsilon double prime, sigma prime and sigma double prime is going to be calculated. Sigma prime is omega epsilon naught epsilon double prime, and sigma double prime is omega epsilon naught epsilon prime. Both the things have been just Brown versus frequency here, and it has been fitted using the theoretically derived relations, and thereafter we have come to the conclusion that its dielectric constant is maximum for the same concentrations where we have the intercalations, where maximum intercalations occur. And sigma representation, sigma prime versus sigma double prime, is to be plotted in order to find out that where the minimum relaxation times is again going to be corroborated here. So where the least diameter, they are having the maximum diameter, least the relaxation time. So you see here the same 5% concentrations where the intercalations occur, it is showing you the least relaxation time, which corroborating your just earlier this one what you found here in this analysis. At the same time, so we have just calculated these transport numbers. Actually, transport numbers, if I used to say, it is the number density, it is the viscosity, it is the diffusion coefficient. All these three factors, if you see here, with respect to clay concentration, we have calculated, and for the same concentration, if you see, its value is going to be high. So this is the way out how this is to be analyzed, and DSC is going to be also going to be analyzed in order to find out that the same concentrations where intercalations occur, at the same concentrations, it is to be found that it is to be showing mostly the amorphous behavior, So for amorphous behavior, actually, it is giving the better ionic conductivity value. So it is actually helpful, and at the same time, if you see, we have tried for this nanofiller, we have tried this nanoclay, we have tried this nanorod. But again, the chances, if you go for the nanowire, you go for the nano ribbon, you go for the aligned nanowire, and you go for the hybrid nanofillers, you are going to get the better ionic conductivity and better compatibility. So in this way, actually, I just finished my first part of the talk. I don't think this coordinator is going to allow me for the next one, since it is going to take much more time. So I'll be happy to just cover this much if they just say. If they are allowing, then I'm going to go far, but I think it will exceed the limits. So here the 10-15 minutes are there for question and answer session. So I'll be happy if you are going to ask the questions. What actually, sir, you says?
So thank you, Dr. Sharma, for this very good presentation. Now session is open for the discussion. If you are having any question, then please raise those questions. Participants, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Good evening, sir.
Please
sir,
continue.
I have a question. Sir, what is a you also said in your lecture a term of morphology. Sir, I want to know what is the morphology.
Yeah, actually, morphology is here the same thing. Actually, if morphology I used to talk, then certainly you see how it looks like using the TEM or FESEM. If you are looking there, actually, I have not shown you here the SAED pattern, selected area electron diffraction pattern. Selected area electron diffraction pattern, if I could show you here how much they are crystalline or how much they are going to show. But it's the image. The image is going to show you that it is going to become what your materials you have prepared. Its morphology is intercalation type or its morphology is of exfoliation type. I think you are asking this thing. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So any other question, please? Dr. Sharma, that I'd like to ask, although we have explained, but once again, that what are the demerits in existing lithium polymer batteries?
Yes, sir. Actually, I talked most of the times. Actually, I talked about the demerits only. So I'm talking actually, sir, here the demerits in the sense, if I discuss here only, the demerits are first demerits is just you see there are, if suppose huge variety of applications. For what actually we are looking so far, actually government is actually, or you can say globally people are interested about the automobiles. Actually rest of the things are okay, but automobiles are very much aggressive applications of this lithium ion battery. The rest of the things about the just grid, actually people are preparing the grid like grid till date, whatever the electrical transmission lines grids are there. Similarly, they are trying to prepare the grid. But what actually problem is here happening, that out of number of batteries are going to be prepared in series and parallel manners. In this, what actually happening, each and individual cells have their importance, that they are going to spoil whole of the systems. So we are not actually going to make a single minute mistake in preparing the cell. Since if you are suppose 7,000 cells we are going to, 10,000 cells or billionth of cells we are going to put somewhere for storing purposes, and we did a small minute mistake in terms of suppose contaminant, in terms of suppose means accurate calculation of their active mass. So in any way, if we have done any mistakes, that is going to spoil our whole storage devices. So this is the big thing, and certainly obviously demerits we cannot say. We should say that whatever task we are putting, how much we are achieving here. So we have achieved a lot, and we have to go far away.
Yeah,
Yes,
certainly. So, any other question from the audience? Abhishek Kumar, please.
Ji sir. Sir, I have another question. Sir, in your lecture, you tell that when I change the structure, we change the properties. Sir, can you explain me how can change the electrical properties of a material when we change the structure of them?
Actually, whatever actually I
Sir,
talked, actually I was having the notion that I'll go further all over the whatever PPT I have here, but I have
yes,
not
sir.
gone there. But the reason why, just you see, if whatever I discussed in that, if I took examples that how it is going to be changed, then you
Yes,
see,
sir.
if you are taking the nanofiller here, you see, if nanofiller you are taking here, then in our whole polymer, nanofillers are going to be put somewhere in this matrix. So its morphology is somewhere having the Lewis acid base. I don't know Lewis acid and Lewis base you know or not, but its chemistry point of view, it's having the Lewis acid base interactions. How strong they are, since their structures and this intercalated type polymer nanocomposite, their structures are completely different. So that structures I'm talking here, but whatever sense you are asking to me, that is related to cathode materials or the supercapacitor materials. What actually I taught, that I have not gone, where actually we are talking about the spinal structures, olivine structures, layered structures.
Yes, sir.
Actually, these are the, when you are prepared the materials, you are looking what structure actually it is. I have not actually covered those things. If I am going to cover the lithium transition metal in supercapacitor, actually I was having the part second talk, but it taken actually around quarter to 2 hours it has taken, so I am not going for that. But there you can see, when you are changing the morphology from layered to spinal or spinal to olivine or any other structures, then your entirely conductivity is going to be changed. Conductivity means, you see, whatever the charge carriers are there, they are getting the path to flow or not. If they are going to obstacle in any way, their conductivity is going to be, you can say, altered. So in
Yes,
that
sir.
way it is going to be.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question from the audience? Dr. Sarma, that one very interesting question, that which one is more durable, lithium-ion batteries or supercapacitor? Because a lot of researches are going on these two fronts. So
actually, sir, here again the same things. Actually, we are here not making the good and bad any device. Neither we can say supercapacitor is good, neither we can say lithium-ion battery is good. Now, in comparison wise, we are supposed to be both having their own merits. We are not going to be here to demerits. Actually, whatever we used to say to our students also, that you don't look for the demerit. Whatever demerit those are the challenges. Actually, challenges we have to consider. Supercapacitor, if you see, sir, actually supercapacitor is a very easy to manufacture in our laboratory. Actually, here whatever systems we are taking, roughly, either if I take examples, then we have started it from the manganese oxide, ruthenium oxide. So whatever oxide we have taken, right now we are looking about the transition metal dichalconides. Actually, if I say metal dichalconides, means we are looking the di of sulfide group, or you said to be halide group. Either it's sulfur, either it's iodine, whatever it is. So what actually we are talking here, we are looking here that if in earlier we were having a very good notions that we are making a pore materials where actually charges are going to be deposit here in a number of means in a number of quantities. But people realize that once they are going to be deposit here, they have no use. Rather, they are going to make these materials to be very weighty. So they tried that no, this EDLC is not good. Rather, we should go for the pseudo one. If pseudo one they are going, then just you see they are saying pseudo one is good. But once they are looking that battery is somewhere coming, and whatever the battery materials, they are going to be compete as a battery electrode, other just you say supercapacitor, whatever MS2 you have prepared. Just you take this one, other is battery. Then what they are saying, yeah, they are giving the good results. So what's actually happening here? If you say you are considering the battery and you are taking the MS2, then this capacitor is going to say to be the latest development is supercapacity. So just you see, how can we say which one is good or which one is bad? Capacity is coming from the battery only. So until and unless we are not going to take the properties of best properties of all the systems, we cannot reach at a level. Reason why we could say when we are going to take the best property of supercapacitor and best property of lithium-ion battery and making this combination, these two, then we can reach at the best application oriented results. Yes, I hope little bit it is.
Yeah, certainly. So is any other question, please? If there is no further question, then let us thank Dr. Sharma for very nice presentation, and he has really done a very good work. Professor Sharma, that your lecture, that was very interesting one. So,
thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
So I think that all the participants, they have enjoyed it. So, okay, so we will meet on tomorrow at 9:15, and the next lecture is by Professor B.R. Sangpal. He will be talking about the state-of-art synthesis of nanomaterials for development of device-grade flexible solid-state supercapacitor. So, and the second talk that will be Dr. Y.K. Sharma from 11:30 to 1:30, and then last one for tomorrow 3 to 5 p.m. So, we will be completing in this way.